Hey, Coach, I have some bad news. JPE's shoulder isn't healing the way we wanted it to. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to throw the ball, at least at the college football level, ever again. The good news is that JPE is an athlete. He played running back, receiver, cornerback, and quarterback all in high school. So in the offseason, we've been kind of treating him as if he's going to be switching positions. So he looks pretty good at receiver. I would give him a look there. He knows what's coming, but he can do it all. Check him out. Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from Ncaa, and welcome to the offseason. A 10-4 season for your Charlotte 49ers. And man, 10 straight wins. What a season. The college football playoffs has been expanded. And you can just see 8 teams made the college football playoff. And it ended in Oregon. 14-0 Oregon going up against Arkansas in the national championship. How about Miami of Ohio, though? They went undefeated, even beating Penn State in round 1 and lost in the semis. But man, that would have been awesome to see them there. A little school like them making it to the national championship. If that ever happened in real life, that would be amazing. Now, both teams are led by Heisman Trophy candidates. Sean Dollars actually took it home. He ran for 1,600 yards, 19 touchdowns. But I'm not sure he had a better year than the opposing quarterback, KJ Jefferson, who ran for 800 yards and accounted for over 50 touchdowns on the season. He swept the Offensive Player of the Year awards, but not the Heisman. So let's get into the highlights of the national championship. Oregon faces Arkansas. As you can see right away, Oregon playing some defense and forcing a fumble, setting them up with great field position. Here at the 10, here's a throw to the end zone, and that one is knocked away. Diving attempt to knock that one away. That's how you lay it out in the national championship. But Oregon gets possession right back before the second quarter. Here's a handoff to the Heisman Trophy winner in Sean Dollars. He gets inside the 5. Handoff right back to Dollars, and he gets in. It's a touchdown from 4 yards out, and Oregon takes the early 13-0 lead. Into the second half, though. Here's the quarterback show. He throws to the right side. It's picked off by Arkansas. The play they needed. They finally get on the board. Touchdown, Hudson Clark. He takes it in, making it a one-score game. Can Arkansas ruin Oregon's perfect season here in the second half? Here's a throw to left side, and it's picked off. That is going to be picked off by Sewell. That is actually Penei Sewell's little brother, Noah Sewell. He gets his first interception here of the season, and he takes that one and gives Oregon great field position. Here's a throw to the end zone. Show is going to find Spencer Webb. It's a touchdown, and that one will give them the 2-score lead. As now here they are inside of 2 minutes. One more throw across the middle. Devin Williams has it, and Oregon completes the perfect season. Show throws 3 interceptions in that game, and they still win by 3 scores. Oregon takes home the national championship going 15-0. The first 15-0 season ever. So going into the offseason, Charlotte has a lot of work to do. I say that because a lot of our seniors were excellent players on this squad the last 3 years. I think this is the class that we're going to have to replace the most. We're going to have the most work to replace, I should say. D. Brown Jr., how about him, though? In his redshirt senior year, man, he just absolutely came out of nowhere. You talk about a guy that made no impact last year and then had maybe the greatest defensive tackle season I've ever seen on one of my teams. Octavius Oakley was once again an All-American. Now, he had a step back from last year, but he was still good enough to be an All-American this season. And then Suleiman Al-Rahman actually won a All-American spot as well, and so did Brooklyn Santana as a returner. So we find out going into the coaching changes that our defensive coordinator Tyson Summers actually accepts the head coaching job at Rice. Congrats to him. He moves on to his own program. Hopefully he will build a legacy there. Now looking at everybody that we're going to be missing next year, I mean, it isn't just Octavius Oakley and D. Brown. I mean, we have everybody. Gary Anderson, is going to be missing from our team. Ncaa is going to be missing. Vincent Youngblood in the secondary is going to be gone. I mean, we have so many guys across the board. Oakley is one of those guys. We also have Rochford, Albert Romano, who is our guard. We have Emmanuel Webb on the defensive line. I mean, we have pretty much half of our starters going and moving on and graduating, and it's going to be tough coming into next season. We're going to have a lot of younger guys, inexperienced guys in the lineup, and it's definitely going to be a challenge for us. I think Romano might be one of the bigger pieces that we'll be missing because our offensive line didn't do too well last season, and now we're going to have to do it without our best offensive lineman this year. Now, looking at the rest of the guys, Ugo Tenbawa is a guy that actually graduated as well. He's a noted player. And then Darius Moss, who was a preseason second-team All-American going into this year as well. Now, recruiting-wise, we do have some good replacements coming in. Rod Woods is a good guard. Hopefully, he will take over for Romano eventually. Jalen Xavier Adams is going to be another speed guy. But Brooklyn Santana, we've seen what happened with him his freshman year. He wasn't a big impact through the air. It was because he was too raw of a receiver. He came in with a lot of speed, not a lot of route running. We definitely need to develop that a little more. But we have some good pieces here in recruiting, including Maurice Parks at receiver. He is a 6'5", 214 outside receiver. I think we're going to get him the ball quite a bit. His spectacular catch is about at a B, so we'll have to see what that ends up being. Devin Parker is interesting. Now that JPE has moved over to receiver, Devin Parker now slots himself into quarterback, and he is going to be one of the most accurate quarterbacks on the roster right now. Daniel Yates is going to be a good pass rusher. I'm hoping to get him some playing time in his freshman year. Clifton Cobbin is a good safety who I'm going to probably end up either putting in the nickel in some formations or just putting on the back end because he can actually cover pretty well. Cabe Kaiser is a good running back. I'm not sure what he's going to do this year because we have two capable backs. But then there's Jamar Parker, who will start day one. Good pass rusher. He can also stuff the run as well. So in the offseason, we have two guys at the top of our board that we really, really want to go after. And that's obviously Daniel Pierre. We're going against ECU of all teams for the #1 player in the country. And we're going to put 7,500 on him. I think that should be enough. I guess we'll have to see. We have about less than 1,000-point lead right now. Then we go after the 4-star Daquan Jordan. He's a good receiver. He has good catching, good route running, and 6'3", 190, good size right away. We're out of the race for Dante Young and Maverick Collins. Both of them will move on to North Carolina, and I think Clemson will be Maverick Collins. We'll have to see what they end up doing going after him. They like to go after cornerbacks quite a bit. And then we decided to add 2 quarterbacks to the board because now that we lost JPE to another position and Brian Rochford, we're now down 2 quarterbacks going into this season. Only one active, Jeffrey Johnson, on the roster. So we go after Scott Thomas and Tyler Vincent. We put a couple of points on them. Hopefully we get them to commit. So we advance on to signing day. Maverick Collins does end up going to Clemson and barely beats out LSU by 200 points. Scott Thomas ends up signing with Southern Miss, so we miss out on one of those quarterbacks. And then we find out that Tyler Vincent also leaves and goes on to UAB. So we miss out on 2 quarterbacks. We were only down by 1,000 on Vincent. That was a close race. But we find out our best news here is Daniel Pierre will be committing. He follows his older brother, DeAnthony Pierre, who also played baseball for the Charlotte 49ers. And then Daquan Jordan also commits as well. So at least we get our top 2 recruits, and rightfully we beat out NC State. So we take away from one of our rivals in this series. Dante Young goes to Appalachian State, and Pedro Williams goes to Duke. Now we end up with the number 45 recruiting class, pretty good right now, and I think we have a pretty bright future. Daniel Pierre is obviously going to lead that. Cabe Kaiser is actually our second-rated recruit as far as ranking goes. And then down at the bottom here, you can see we do have some walk-ons. So looking at our roster size, we lost a ton of seniors. We'll probably keep all of the walk-ons this year. Now, Devin Parker is going to be interesting. He ends up being 90 speed. So now we have a guy at quarterback who is truly dual threat. I mean, this guy can run faster than a lot of our skill players. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to have a new playbook because we change it every 2 years, or when we get a new offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, whichever comes first. So we'll have to see what happens with this new offense and what offense we get. JPE switches over to receiver, and he actually looks pretty good. He's actually top 10 still in overall on the team. Jeffrey Johnson has a pretty good offseason. His accuracy is still very low. When we recruited him, I definitely said this was going to be a 3-year project for him because he started at 59 accuracy. Obviously, that's not something you can depend on. So right now, Devin Parker is penciled in as the #1 quarterback as a true freshman. JPE has excellent route running. He came out of high school as a receiver and a quarterback, and now he gets his chance to move over to receiver since his shoulder did not heal correctly. And Devon Cash, how about him? 94 catching. Remember in year 1, he could not catch a pass at all. He actually was second in our team in drops behind Christopher Dalton. Now he's our best catcher on the team. And I guess that shows that, guys naturally progress as you get them the ball. Now at middle linebacker is going to be interesting because we have 2 guys, Darius Moss and Oakley, who we'll have to replace. So that's going to be a challenge for us. We'll see what the linebacking core is going to look like. I'm not really sure right now. We're going to have to move around some guys and see what happens because I honestly don't know what it's going to look like. And then at cornerback, Kevin Knox is going to move over to #1 with Vincent Youngblood graduating. And now we're moving on to a new conference. So we're going to have a lot more tough competition going forward in this ACC. And you can just see that we did replace Southern Miss and I believe Wake Forest that came down. So now they will move down to the American and USF, and we will move up to the ACC. So just looking around the NCAA, some of our custom recruits did commit to other schools. Bronco McMacklin goes to NC State, who was in the college football playoff. So they are going to be very good. NC State has been, I think, top 5 ranked in every single season this dynasty. So we'll have to see what they do. Gary Anderson's little brother goes to Arizona State. He'll probably have to wait a year. He's behind a couple of seniors ahead of him, and so are a couple of our other recruits like Kobe Green. He will at least be in the nickel position, but in order to get some real playing time on the outside, he'll have to wait a year. Scotty King as well. He goes to Georgia Southern. He has a senior ahead of him at quarterback. And now we move on to our team's walk-ons. These are guys that you guys submitted this season, and we decided to rename some of our walk-ons that we got in recruiting. First is Cameron Gilliam. He is a pocket passer, can't really move that well. Very accurate, though. He is our most accurate quarterback on the roster right now, but that mobility is an issue. Rochford actually could move a little bit. He was actually about 70 speed. Gilliam, he's about 58 speed. I mean, that is a huge difference. He's not going to be able to move at all. Christian Green is an interesting linebacker. He is very, very athletic, high hit power, good tackling, but his technique isn't there. He can't cover. His zone coverage and man coverage are both in the low 50s, and his play recognition is down there as well. Thaddeus Flair is going to be a cornerback who's going to compete for playing time right away. As a freshman, he has good speed, good zone, but man is down at 71. Then there's Jihad Calvary, who's going to be a pretty good lanky cornerback at 6'4", 172. He'll need to add some weight, but he can cover man pretty well as a freshman, 79, but the zone is low at 71. Then there's Tyler Efkin. He will be backing up Jamar Parker for a couple of years before he really gets a chance, but we'll have to see what he gets. And then Josh Price is going to be a guard. I'm going to actually redshirt Josh Price because I think I'm going to eventually move him over to tackle and see what he can do backing up, and waiting his turn until we need a right tackle. So like I said, every 2 years we do shuffle the playbook around, and this year we land on Texas A&M, and they actually are an air raid offense, and with college football revamped and all the new plays, we're going to have a big learning curve to see what this playbook is like. But we have the freshman Devin Parker. He's very athletic. He's going to extend plays, but he's a pocket passer with mobility. He does not have his first instinct is running the football. He's going to stay in the pocket, take hits as he throws like Rochford did. I mean, Rochford did that, but it kind of hurt him because he was hurt pretty much throughout his career. And that's kind of what we saw from JPE too. He took some hits. Maybe we're going to have to recruit some better offensive linemen because our quarterbacks have just not stayed healthy. So going into this spring game for our second year versus Minnesota, Daniel Pierre will see his debut. He is, I believe, the 5th highest rated player on our roster right now as a true freshman. We'll have to see the impact that he has. He also has 75 speed. I mean, that is ridiculous as a defensive tackle. Daniel Yates, he's going to be penciled in as the #1 outside linebacker, at least rushing the passer. He'll be the first guy that gets in on third downs for that edge rusher. And then at cornerback, it's really going to be an open competition for that nickel spot, but CJ Miles and Kevin Knox will be on the outside. So let's look at some quick highlights of this spring game. As you can just see, wanted to get one pass in. JPE can't throw 20 times a game. He can throw once or twice or maybe even 3 times, but I wanted to get him back at quarterback. He's healthy in the shoulder. It looks fine catching the football, but throwing the football, not so much. Here is Devin Parker at quarterback. You can just see the speed that's on display. We might run some trickery. We'll have to see what this playbook is like too. It's a much different playbook than what we've been running. We ran the Maryland playbook, and that had a little bit more under center. This one only has one single back formation, and that's, I believe, ace big. So we only have one play under center. Everything else is in the shotgun. As you can see, Solomon Al-Rahman hits the 54-yard field goal. His longest last year was 50, so at least I wanted to try that out and see what our range was like. So let's see what our defense looks like. And there is a tackle by Terrence Youngblood, Vincent Youngblood's younger brother, who did not redshirt last year, but he did sit behind Jacob Areola at strong safety along with Ferguson as well. And now I think that he's ready to play. We had a year to develop him, and we'll see what he can do. CJ Miles on the deflection on the next play, and that is a great play by Miles. He's actually been sitting back for 3 years waiting for this moment, and he gets to start here in his senior season. So let's see what our offense looks like with Brooklyn Santana now back in after a season of training. And I'm hoping that he gets better because his route running was terrible last year. Here is Devin Parker. Look at this. Extending the play and throwing across the middle. It's incomplete. But one thing I want to look at this. He gets a block, makes one man miss, makes a second man miss. I mean, this is the potential that he adds to this offense, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see him grow. Devin Parker now under center, and that is going to be a sack. And that's a loss of 12. The offensive line is definitely going to need some work. I think that last year we kind of had a playbook that definitely favored them because we did a lot of quick passes with Rochford. Now we're going to have some plays that may need some extending, more shotgun, more down the field throws from Parker. It's going to be interesting because our offensive line could get exposed this year if they're not careful. But take a look at this play. This is Jamar Parker, the JUCO transfer. Look at the effort on this play. He was way out of the play. It was a screen pass away from his side, and he still shows the effort to make the tackle. So into the second half, here is Jeffrey Johnson into the game. He played in the bowl game, taking over for the injured Rochford, and his first pass is way upfield. That is a gain of 33, Alex Patterson. And he finds him for a nice pass across the 50. So here's a play action fake this time and throwing to an open man, and that's where the accuracy is an issue. He's got to make those easy throws. 3rd and 14 now from about the 40. Here's a throw down the right sideline. He's got Maurice Parks, that is, 32 yards, and Jeffrey Johnson has the big arm. He just does not have the consistency there. But that was a nice throw. Ncaa Labata on the jet sweep, and he puts it on the ground. That's not a good sign going into this season for Ncaa because, remember, we just recruited Cade Kaiser, who was our number 2 ranked prospect coming into this season, and here he is. He's 71 overall, 91 speed, 90 acceleration. If he can take some playing time away from Ncaa Labata due to fumbling issues, it's going to be interesting because Kaiser is more of a shiftier back than Labata is, but Labata is a stronger, more like Terrence Pitt Howard. But you know TPH is going to hog up a lot of the playing time in his senior season. So here's Gilliam into the game. I want to see what he's got. He's not going to be mobile. And the thing is, I don't know if he fits this offense, the air raid offense. I think he's more of a pro-style quarterback under center because he's going to need play action. And here he is throwing on a 4th and 6, and he gets hit. That's the thing. He can't move. He's a statue quarterback, and that's how he's just going to stand in the pocket and take hits. So now here is our schedule going into season number 4. We're going to open up at Hawaii. We have a strength of schedule of A+. So that is going to be interesting. We will also face a couple of our subscriber recruits in that game, and we will be on the road. Then we will play Iowa State, who is number 16 in the nation. They are always good, it seems like, in this game. Then we open up conference play, and ACC play is going to be tough. North Carolina, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, and UCF, 4 straight games, 3 of them being on the road. So we have 3 straight away games to open up ACC play. Notre Dame's going to be a tough game. North Carolina's going to be a tough game. Bo Bell is still the running back. He is a sophomore this year at UNC. That's going to be tough. NC State comes into the season number 2, and then we end the season at home 3 straight games. And that's going to be tough because all 3 of those games are versus ranked opponents. So here's our whole roster. You can see how everybody progressed in the offseason. We look a little better on paper, but we have a lot of moving pieces now that will now need to fit in, and a lot of inexperienced guys in the lineup. I'm excited to see how JPE does at receiver now. That's going to be an interesting guy to look out for in this offense. And then how will the freshman quarterback Devin Parker do as well? And a lot of pieces on defense that we don't know what they're going to look like until we get on the field. So that's going to do it for the offseason. Let me know what you guys think of the squad going forward. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tenant. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in a dash, and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side. But I'm from the east side, this how we slide. This how we ride, yeah, this how we ride.